Okay, so good, our installation is done. Next step is to configure our Oracle Hyperion. So in order to configure it, you're supposed to create one user in Oracle, and it should have access privileges, which I mentioned over here. The user should have access privilege to create cluster, index, procedure, sequence, and all this. Okay, I'm going to create one user. Create user HYP admin, and I identify by password. Then I'm going to grant all these privileges. For now I'm going to grant a DBA privilege because later on I need the DBA privileges for some of the activities, but you do not require to have a DBA privileges. The set of privileges mentioned over here, you need them. We'll give it DBA, create session, and connect to H5P admin. Okay. This user I'll be using in order to configure my Hyperion. So click on configuration. You can configure from here, or you can invoke a configuration utility from here also. Okay. Click on configure. It will take some time to launch a new screen. There you specify all the required parameters, your database detail and other parameters. You can also invoke the configuration utility from your Windows. Under common, you can find them. Oracle, middleware, EPM, common, and config. From here also you can invoke the batch configuration batch utility. Okay, so I'm going to configure. The instance name is EPM system 1, and it is going to configure under this folder. Click next. It takes some time. Okay, specify database details. So name of server, my Oracle database. I'm installing my Oracle database exists in the same server, so I'll give SID ORCL. You need to specify database, the server name where your Oracle is running. In my case, I'm configuring against Oracle, and it is running on the same system. It's the name of my system. And HYP admin, name of my user, and password. And performing first time configuration of shared service. It's a little slow, you have to be patient enough. If I look at my resource utilization, it's a little high. So my resource utilization is okay. It's just occupying 2.4 GB of RAM. Okay, let's check now. Alright, so these are all the components I'm going to configure. Foundation services, okay, and EPMA services, calculation manager, and SBase. I'm going to configure provider service, SBase Studio, administration service, SBase, financial management. I have unchecked this option, default uncheck, upgrade application from earlier release, and planning, configure database, deploy application, and configure RMI service and reporting components. Right. Go next. It will ask you other details about database. Each configuration, each product configuration detail, it will ask you step by step. Alright, so configure common setting. I'll go by default. I don't want to configure mail server. Depends upon your need. You can configure your SMTP mail server. I'm going to leave this option and go further. Make sure you have chosen this option, create Windows services for configure component. So once it is done, you can see all the services under services.msc. You can see all Hyperion services over here. Right now there is no Hyperion service. So create Windows services for configure component. Click next. And you see pretty much the screen is exactly same. Here you can specify the database credential of individual product, like name of product, like as Hyperion Financial Management, database server name, port, SID, username and password. You can configure some of your product with a different user and password. In my case, I would like to go along with the same. Okay. You can specify database table name, table space, and index table space. Okay. For the large application, for scalability, you're supposed to set these options. So now I'm going with the default values. The configuration will take some time. So configure reporting and analysis framework. It seems like exactly same as previous release. It is going to configure under with 6800 to 6805 port, and this is going to be the path. Go next. I'm going with the default path and default ports. Alright, so deploy to application server, specify WebLogic domain information. I'm going to specify WebLogic domain information as an existing domain. If your WebLogic is already up and running and other components are configured under this, for example, you already configure Oracle EBS or PeopleSoft, you want to configure along with this, but I'm going to configure my EPMA as an individual. So deploy Java web application to a new domain. I'm going to create a new domain. So your default port of console WebLogic would be 7001 like in the previous release, and the default user EPM admin. I define the password over here. So the first activity I'm going to do after installation, password is not correct. Okay, I supposed to use this password combination of character and numbers. Alright, this is deploy the Java web application to a single managed server. I would like to deploy, if you want all of them to be deployed under a single managed server, there will be default port for port number and SSL port. Okay, I'm going to deploy them as an individual. I uncheck this option. I would like to deploy them on individual port number. Okay, so when I look at this port, I find most of all the services are configured on default port. Like planning, it used to be 8300, it is still 8300. APS is 13080. Shared services, financial services, I find pretty much similar as my previous release. The EAR file going to be deployed with these ports. I click next. I'm going for the default configuration now. In a subsequent release, I'll show you how to configure with SSL. We'll also see a couple of examples. One configuration with distributed installation. There may be a server. You may have more than one server. One server may have database. Another server may be running with client component and so on. Configure dimension server. Let's go ahead with the default port for J9 bridge port and server port. Okay, and ASP Studio default data file. You can file all the default data file location for ASP Studio. I just like to have a and configure ASP server. The default port is 1423, the same as previous release, and for start port and end port range is given over here. And my ASP server path given over here. Airborne path would be your environment variable, which you can see. Click next and go along with the default port number for reporting and analysis framework as well. We are going with the basic installation now. I'm going with all the default properties. RMI port also, I keep it with default port. Since my all settings are done, it will ask me. Okay. So web server, embedded WebLogic server, and IIS server. I'm going to configure with my WebLogic server. I could configure against IIS server as well. Go next. Okay, these are going to be my port for financial management configuration server. I have enabled my 9091 port, which is a default enable. Okay, you can add a cluster, define cluster over here, click on add. So I already have a cluster over here, EPM123. I can even add localhost on the cluster, though it doesn't make any value because we already have EPM123 available and the server cluster. Select this and go ahead next. Define the username for your shared service and password. That's it. We go ahead with next. Now configuration will start. It will take some time. We see. I'll just invoke the installation. When we come close to 100%, I'll start the recording once again. So far so good. Configuration going on without any hurdle. And I still see my resource utilization. Okay. It is still a little less. Okay, 40% installation done so far, so seems no error. I'm hoping best. Don't get any error. Post installation will log into our service and then check and see what services are created by now. Okay, services are not created yet. We'll continue to check all the services. I look at my folder structure. Meanwhile, the installation is going on. So we see folder structure installed in D drive. You see there's user project. A folder would be user project folder would be created, right? So you can find all the executables under this EPM bin. You find all the executables: start SBIS server, EPMA services, SBIS studio, start and stop services. In addition to this, you find there is a file called validate.bat. We'll invoke this file post installation, post configuration to ensure that all the services are up and running. Okay. We also log into each URL and check the required components up and running. I would also like to show you over here. You can invoke. This has not created yet. You can see a start WebLogic server executable file over here under this. It is still being the configuration is still being going on. Therefore, you don't see the file over there. Once it is completed, you see there's a file called start WebLogic server under the bin folder. Okay, so let's wait. 65% done. We need to wait for a little more time. By the time it will take next 10-15 more minutes. Perfect. The installation is done and configuration done completely. And when I browse through, I find all my components are configured correctly. Okay, I don't see any error, visible error. So the last step, we are going to validate each services. Let's check what services got created under my Windows. So when I see services.msc, I see these set of services are available, isn't it? And by default, they set to automatic. I start a WebLogic server first. Log into my WebLogic server console and check all the services. You can start services from Windows services. I would prefer to start all the services from your middleware, user project, through binary folders. Binary folder start.bat file. Okay, let's first start the Windows. WebLogic server. Start WebLogic. I start WebLogic server. It will take some time. Once it gets started, we'll connect to a WebLogic server and see what are the set of services are up and running. So from here, WebLogic server console, we can monitor all the services. It will take little time to start. I just go HTTP name of your server, EPM123, 7001 port and console. Okay. It takes a little more time to start. Let's wait for some more time. In addition to this, once it got started, the next step I will start all the Hyperion services from your bin folder. Though you can start the services from Windows services as well. I mean, it's up to you. I would prefer to start from my batch file. You can start individual services, like you're supposed to start foundation services, EPMA services, then followed by whatever you need as space, planning, HFM, calculation manager. You can start them one by one. Alternatively, just invoke the start.bat file. It will in turn start all the services in a required order. And finally, we'll run validate.bat. This will validate our all components are configured, installed, and configured correctly or not. Wait for a little more time. Perfect. My WebLogic server got started. HTTP name of your server 7001. Now I'll specify username and password. Then we start all the services and test step by step which service is up and running. Okay, under service section, environment, under servers, you see what are the services are deployed. And you can see all services and their respective path. Right now only admin services are running. The services got deployed. I could see the list over here called calculation manager, provider services, EPMA, web server, data server, space server, administration services, financial reporting, and all. Right? What I do now, I'll invoke start.bat. You could call individual services. I'm going to call over here start.bat. Okay. So as the services go on, you can monitor all the services status over here. You will see some of the services turn out to be from shutdown to starting mode. Okay, it takes some time, and then you can see them running. Okay, so let's wait and let it complete. Okay, as I'm refreshing, I'm seeing my analytical services got running, calculation manager is being started, and EPM data service also it is running now. Okay, it will take another 5-10 minutes to start all the services. In the beginning only it is little slow. Once my all services up and running, you find the server runs really good. Also, you can continue to check the resource utilization. Now you see the resource utilization come close to 7 GB. It will come around 10 GB when I start all the services. Because I have database is also up and running over here, therefore it is also occupying a lot of memory from database. Generally in your production environment, you prefer to keep your database server in different system. Okay, and you do prefer to have distributed installation. Okay. Installing everything into one box, it's not very prudent idea. You should install this in a distributed installation. I continue to refresh it and see what's happening. Okay, my foundation service is still shut down. Once it starts, we'll log into workspace and check. Meanwhile, I log into my workspace. I just type the password. I'm the URL HTTP. My workspace is going to work over here. Name of your server, localhost, or name of your server 28080, and workspace. You can also directly log into index or JSP. Continue to refresh and test it. Okay, 2 more services are starting. Once all services got started, we'll log into each application and test it once. My provider service up and running. Let me try and log in to see the provider service up and running. It works on 13080 port and APS. Right, provider service up and running. You can find the list of all the URL in my installation document. So I could see at least provider service up and running. Okay, fantastic. My foundation service is also being started. Okay, 2 more services are left. Web, HFM, and planning server. Okay. Let me log in to check my workspace. Okay, I could see workspace up. Let me log into workspace, index.jsp. Okay, it is still login. Fantastic. I'm able to log in. I'm able to see at least my workspace interface. I log in and validate. Default user is admin and password is password. This is how our 11.124 interface. I don't see much difference over here. Maybe when we get through logging into each application, we may find some differences. Great, I'm able to log into workspace. So we tested so far APS and workspace, right? Let's check other two services are up and running. I just refresh my entire workspace. Perfect, all the services are up and running. Now let's quickly check all the services one by one. So far we tested provider services, we tested foundation services and workspace. Now let's test other services. Although it is quite visible over here, all the services are up and running, but still we log into each service and test it once. Okay, these are all the URLs we are going to test one by one. Okay, just to ensure everything is up and running. So I log into my workspace. Although I already tested this, let's quickly test once again everything. Just log into your workspace. I see the status of workspace showing me the XML files and all the products are up and running, installed under the workspace. Then I see the BPM context. It will also render XML file. Already run. Okay, it renders all XML files, and I can see all the global resource and context names. Then I log into my EAS console, okay, and check it's up and running. This is EAS console. I already logged in every component and tested it. I just would like to show you once again. Web analysis, I have not installed web analysis, so I leave it, but in case you like to validate web analysis, you can copy and paste over here the same URL. Okay. In my case, I did not install the web analysis. We just installed financial reporting. Okay. Next, we'll test. I also have not installed FM web services, so I'll test planning now. We have not installed. We'll just quickly log in planning and check. Yeah, we are able to log in. I'm not using the compatible Internet Explorer is 9 onwards, and I'm using Windows. Internet Explorer 8. So my Internet Explorer is basically not compatible as per the certification matrix. But anyway, I'm able to log into my planning as well. Then we check APS services quickly. Once again, my APS service is up and running. I could see the message over here, Hyperion provider services. Next, HR service is also running. Hyperion reporting service is up and running. Okay. Finally, I'll test my calculation manager and AWP context configuration file. Okay, I see the configuration on respective class names. And final testing, I'll do it calculation manager. Maybe I see a message over here, calculation manager up and running. Calculation manager 11.124.0102 patch is up and running. So we tested everything. It's up to you. In the last activity, you could do it for the sake of your satisfaction. You can run this validate.bat file. It will render an HTML file. It will tell you what components are up and running and what component have issues. That would be your final step. Let's run it once again. Okay, it is running. It's showing me all components are passed, successful. We'll see once the validation report gets completed, we'll see a very nice summary HTML report. Okay, it will take a little more time. It is still going on. It seems everything good. I would also like to show you the fantastic report has rendered, and I see everything good. Nothing is scary so far. Nothing red. Perfect. You can go through this file in detail. Okay, to check all the services are up and running. This is the final thing I would like to check. I would also like to go through the log file once in order to ensure that there shouldn't be any hidden error. isn't it? The detailed documentation you can find under my installation document toolkit. That's it. I'll like to log in once again to my WebLogic, to my workspace, and quickly cross-check my EPMA services. Right? I see all the EPMA components are available over here, and I don't see anything new over here. I find something new: transform, class 2 EPMA architect. I'll check each services, dimension library. Oh, it's up and running. At least I'm able to open the interface, and then application library. Also, it is getting open. So I tested dimension library, application library. That are the two major services I would be interested to test them. Okay. I could also see, because I installed only HFM and planning, so consolidation administration, planning administration. I click on planning administration and like to test whether my interface is getting open or not. You can open the interface through port called 8300. We already tested this. I like to test it from my browser as well. Okay. I'm not using a compatible browser. It should be Internet Explorer 8 9.0. I'm using 8.0 now, so there may be some incompatibility. And finally I log in and check my workspace, my HFM. Right, it seems quite a same interface as we used to have in the previous release. Let's quickly check HFM as well. Perfect, so everything up and running, pretty good. I'm going to stop over here. Please do watch our next video, troubleshooting of EPMA installation. Also in the troubleshooting video we'll walk you through with all the log files, okay, got rendered during as part of the installation. This is a basic installation video. In a subsequent subsequent video we are going to show you how to install Hyperion EPMA in a distributed installation. We'll also show you installation with custom installation with high availability, and how to enable SSN as well. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching today's video, and should you have any questions, please feel free to write to us www.bisptrainings.com. You can also, if you have any training or consulting assignment or any infrastructure related activity, you can pass it to us. Thanks for watching today's video and have a great day ahead.